Masugu was particularly on edge that morning as he overheard some of his female colleagues talking in hushed tones about a possible romance brewing within the office. Then Shizuna, the high-tier senior from accounting, pulls up with her usual playful energy to ask him what he thinks about office dating, completely unaware that she is talking to a man in the trenches. He plays it safe, claiming that romance among colleagues is a total L, which is a necessary lie because Maria, the no-nonsense junior, suddenly appears to shut down the chatter and remind everyone to focus on the grind, but the morning only gets sweatier when Yui storms in looking visibly tilted, accusing Masugu of failing to handle a receipt he supposedly owed, prompting a cold exchange where he tells her to handle her own business, which leads to her snatching the paper and storming off after one final insult, leaving their co-workers to wonder why. These two are always in a constant state of PvP despite joining the guild at the same time, but as soon as the workday ends, the atmosphere does a total 180, and Yui greets him at home with a warm smile, apologizing for acting like a literal raid boss 10. Earlier that day because she was actually panicking about maintaining their charade at the office, which is why Masugu feels the weight of keeping their relationship on a hidden server, yearning for a day when they don't have to farm cold remarks just to stay undercover, so he hands her a beer and suggests they finally reveal their status to a few trusted players. However, Yui hits him with a firm refusal because she thinks the risk to 14. Their professional ranking is way too high, explaining that her harshness is actually 15. A defense mechanism to make sure no one suspects their connection, which makes it impossible for her to 16. Show any affection in public, so she lists off all the restricted content they have to avoid, leaving Masugu to wonder if 17. They are even really dating with all these debuffs active, until Yui turns to him with 18. A shy smile that makes him fall for her all over again, especially when she suggests they could go on a public date while wearing literal masks. The following days become a whirlwind of overtime, leaving Masugu swamped in accounting while 20. Yui looks for any opening to visit his floor, but her friends decide to 21. Block her path by playing a game to see who delivers the documents, meaning she spends the rest of 22. The day feeling totally down bad after missing her chance to see him, and things don't improve when he sends a message that goes completely ignored because she's already passed out from the week's heavy workload, so the next morning our MC is rushing to the elevator with zero sleep, only to find Yui entering the same car, looking perfectly composed like she has maximum emotional armor, which stands in stark contrast to his own struggle to keep it together. As they stand side by side, Shizuna starts praising Yui's skills, forcing Masugu to give a measured 26. Compliment that makes Yui's ears turn bright red, and as the elevator gets crowded, they take the small comfort of holding hands in secret until they finally reach their floor. Once the busy period finally ends, they plan a rare movie date to make up for all the 28 missed couple activities, and Yui suggests they start using their given names in private, which is a major 29. Level up for their relationship despite how nervous it makes him, so when the evening finally 30 rolls around, Masugu is struck by how pretty she looks, causing her to blush deeply because she isn't used to him complimenting her outside of their base. He asks which movie they're seeing, and she accidentally refers to him by his last name, forcing him to 32. Remind her of the new rule by using her first name, which sends her into a total embarrassment spiral. During the film, Masugu is distracted by the fact that they've waited 6 years for this intimacy, only to realize they 34. Picked a horror movie that is way too gory to actually enjoy, but it leads to 35. Yui grabbing his hand tightly during a scary scene, which gives him the perfect opportunity to tease her as they exit the theater. He invites her to dinner, but their private moment is suddenly interrupted by Seiya, a former senior who recognizes Yui and calls her over, making Masugu try to dodge his gaze to keep their secret safe, but Seiya notices him anyway and invites both juniors out for a meal on his tab, which they have to accept to avoid looking sus, and throughout the dinner, Seiya starts glazing Yui's achievements, which triggers a 39. Pang of jealousy in our MC as he recalls old rumors of them dating, and he struggles to keep his poker face while Seiya asks how he's doing in accounting. They both awkwardly deny seeing a movie together, but the tension is so thick that Masugu considers just leaking the truth to quell his jealousy until he feels Yui's trembling hand tugging on his sleeve, signaling him to 42. Stick to the script of them just running into each other, which works well enough for them to 43. survive the dinner as normally as possible until Seiya leaves with a cheeky wink that hints he's already seen through their disguise. Once they're finally alone, Yui gathers the courage to use his first name, but Masugu can't resist 45, teasing her for taking so long when she was so comfortable with Seiya, and as he leans in for a kiss, she stops him to avoid any public displays of affection, so he suggests they continue their business back at his house, which leads to a morning where he relentlessly teases her flustered reactions before they have to get ready for the work arc. While waiting for the train, he realizes Yui is still wearing yesterday's gear, which could start some nasty rumors, but she reassures him she has 48. A spare outfit in her locker, so they take separate trains to minimize detection, and Masugu spots 49. Maria among the passengers, feeling grateful that their cover wasn't blown while they continue to hide their connection from their colleagues. They accidentally bump into each other again on the way to the office, creating a weird moment where 51. They can't decide if they should talk or just pretend they're invisible, eventually settling for a curt greeting before Yui turns on her fierce persona and hurls insults at him to maintain the act. But after a long day, they unwind at a bar where she explains her excitement about spearheading her first snack product. Masugu is slightly tilted that Yui can't say his name, so he reminds her of the first name only rule they set yesterday. Hearing him say her name for the first time sends Yui into an embarrassment spiral, and she has to tell him to slow his roll. Masugu loves the reaction, but he scolds himself for acting like a child when they're both supposed to be adults. During the movie, he's totally distracted by the fact that they've wanted this intimacy for 6 years and still can't use first names freely. However, the intense scenes on screen eventually snap his attention back to the film. He realizes they definitely picked a movie that's way too gory to be a vibe. At a scary part, Yui grabs his hand tightly, giving him a massive heart rate buff. As they leave, he teases her about the hand-holding, causing her blush to reach critical levels. He decides to invite her for dinner, but before they can decide where to eat, Sawyer, a former co-worker and senior from Yui's university, notices Yui and calls out her name. Masugu tries to ninja dodge the situation, hoping Seiya won't notice his presence. Seiya greets her warmly and Masugu's anxiety starts peaking. Is their secret about to be exposed? But Seiya notices him too and invites both of them to dinner, offering to pay for his juniors like a total ops senior. They reluctantly accept because refusing would be sus, and Yui frantically DMs Masugu to keep the secret safe. During the meal, Seiya is praising Yui's work in the planning department, and she's looking pretty happy about it. Masugu feels a pang of jealousy, remembering the old rumors that Seiya and Yui used to be a thing. He notices how natural she acts with Seiya and realizes they've always had a special bond since their office days. Our MC is struggling to keep his cool, while Seiya asks how life is treating him in accounting. He plays it safe, keeping his responses neutral to avoid any red flags. When Seiya mentions the movie, they both awkwardly lie about seeing it, their poorly hidden tension making Masugu worry Seiya is onto them. But then he thinks, why not just tell him? Seiya is in a different branch now, so the secret would be safe. It would also crush his jealousy if he officially marked his territory and told his rival that Yui is his. But he stops when he feels Yui's hand trembling as she tugs on his sleeve. He comes up with a 200 IQ cover story about just running into Yui at the theater. Fighting the urge to claim her, Masugu manages to get through the dinner without any major leaks. By the end, Seiya bids them goodnight and drops a wink, basically saying, I see you. Yui is oblivious though, confident that their secret is still totally hidden. Masugu just goes along with it, even though he knows Seiya definitely caught them in 4K. Finally alone, Yui summons the courage to call Masugu by his first name for the first time. He teases her for taking so long, pointing out how easily she used Seiya's first name during dinner. Yui is dying of embarrassment and tries to make up some logic for why she was so casual with the senior. But in her panic, she doesn't realize our MC is leaning in for the kill. Just as he's about to kiss her, she blocks it, reminding him of their no PDA pact in case another acquaintance spawns nearby. He agrees but cheekily suggests they finish the business at his place. The next morning, Yui is looking flustered as she processes the events of the night before, so Masugu teases her relentlessly until it's time to clock in. As they wait for the train, he realizes she's still in yesterday's gear. If people notice, the rumors about her all-nighter will go viral. She says she's got a spare outfit in her locker, and if she can speedrun her morning, no one in planning will suspect a thing. To keep the stealth mission active, they take separate trains. But Masugu spots Maria on the first train and realizes she lives nearby. Thank God she didn't catch him with Yui. He looks back at Yui one last time, grateful that even though this relationship is a high-difficulty quest, they're getting stronger every day. Another morning, another day of pretending they're just NPCs to each other. But they accidentally bump into each other on the way to work, creating a total logic error. Should they say hi, pretend to be invisible, it's a lose-lose situation. If their office mates see them, it's going to be awkward as hell. They settle for a quick, cold good morning and keep it moving. Yui puts on her savage face and hurls some insults, and Masugu responds with equal toxicity to keep the act alive. After a long day, they decide to unwind at a bar. He notices her stifling a yawn, her stamina bar looking pretty low. She says she's hype about a new snack product she's leading, a huge milestone since it's her first time spearheading a launch. But even with that confidence, she's secretly struggling to lock in the final product. She can't decide on the perfect topping, but luckily a colleague points her toward an absolute snack reviewing legend hiding in the accounting department, which is why she heads over to their floor immediately. The corporate organizational structure, AI-generated Getty images. Over in accounting, our MC Masugu is busy with some heavy lifting when Yui pulls up, making him think she's there to see him, but he gets totally nerfed when she bypasses him to talk to Maria instead. As it turns out, she was directed there for advice. Maria goes into full critic mode, sampling both versions and buffing the project by suggesting coconut toppings and the best market strategy, which leaves Yui totally impressed by her hidden food tier knowledge. A marketing SWOT analysis diagram, AI-generated Shutterstock Explore. Yui is eager to absorb every bit of this expertise, but she's even more surprised that someone from accounting is actually a viral snack reviewer online, so she compliments Maria for being a celebrity, only to see her get flustered and sheepishly ask Yui to keep her secret. She confesses that her bubbly online persona is a total contrast to her professional image at work, and she doesn't want the NPCs in the office to treat her differently, so Yui reassures her with a promise of total secrecy, which is a move that totally shocks Maria since she always saw Yui as a fierce boss-level enemy, leading Maria to conclude that Yui is only toxic toward Masugu because of his impossible personality, recalling the time he even scolded his superiors over font sizes and spacing. Yui plays along, but secretly she's loving his annoying quirks, and a smile blooms as she remembers how he's just as nitpicky during their private time together, yet Maria remains a total NPC and doesn't suspect a thing, continuing to list his annoying habits. Yui starts worrying if Masugu is actually the office villain, but then Maria flips the script and praises him for always being the first to help others, which makes Yui admit in a small voice that she already knew that, recalling the time his kindness first sparked her feelings for him, so Maria muses about how he's often taken advantage of because he's too kind, causing Yui's facade to crack as she starts glazing his best qualities, forcing Maria to clarify that she isn't trying to steal her man, leaving Maria to assume they just have a complex rivalry since they started at the same time. But later that night, they're finally in private at Masugu's place, where Yui notices his stress levels are peaking, so she takes him to the bedroom for a high-tier shoulder massage to delete those knots. The human shoulder musculature, AI-generated Getty images explore. Masugu is enjoying the buff, asking why she needed Maria's help, and while Yui keeps the snack reviewer secret safe, she admits that resisting him at work is her biggest challenge, which turns the room bright red as they realize how spicy the air just got, leading to a few days of whirlwind activity for everyone. Yui is on a winning streak, distributing improved samples to her team, and she even helps out a colleague with a smile, showing off her maxed-out charisma stats. But meanwhile, Masugu is having a rough game as his reports get rejected by the deputy director. Feeling dejected, he heads out to grab a coffee, convinced he's being bullied for doing a good job, and that's when his friends find him in a total funk, though he tries to mask how upset he is. But Yui notices him and surprises the group by approaching with samples. While the squad marvels at the flavor, Masugu gives a mid-tier review, claiming it's just fine, which irritates Yui until he points out that the topping makes it messy to eat, displaying a valid point that actually helps her, so she thanks him and heads back to implement the changes. Inspired by her determination, Masugu decides to return to his desk and redo his own failed report, refusing to give up on his professional quest, and after a long day, the accounting squad heads out for drinks. Masugu is curious about the experience, and unexpectedly they run into the planning department. At the same spot, where Shizuno tries to force some interaction between our secret couple. They keep their distance, but Masugu ends up talking to the new guy Kazuki, hearing how much. The team relies on Yui's welcoming aura, which fills him with pride knowing that she is his. But the pride turns to worry when he sees Yui has been speedrunning beer glasses, eventually crashing by the washroom sink, so he rushes to her side and starts rubbing her back. Yui is terrified of being caught, but Masugu reassures her while she drunkenly declares she's staying at his place, completely forgetting they are in public, which is bad because Kazuki catches them red-handed, forcing Masugu to confirm their relationship right then and there. The next day, Yui is in a total panic, suggesting wild plans to silence the witness, but Masugu calms her down and eventually confronts Kazuki at the vending machine, where the new guy promises to protect their secret image, leaving Masugu to finally think about their future together. The idea of a marriage ending crosses his mind, and as another busy day begins, the team shifts their focus toward the critical mission of designing the perfect packaging. That was an absolute emotional roller coaster, but our duo survived the reveal. Would you like me to? As the group hypes up the snack's flavor and chocolate levels, Yui walks right up to our MC to offer him a sample. He hesitantly takes it and gives it a mid-review, saying it's just fine. That lukewarm feedback tilts Yui, and she demands he give her a real critique. She's ready for the smoke. She wants criticism so she can actually improve. Masugu is impressed. He usually takes feedback as a personal insult, but she's built different. Following her instructions, he points out that the chocolate topping is a bit too much, making the snack slightly messy to eat, motioning the chocolate stain on his thumb. His friends think he's nitpicking, but Yui realizes he's got a valid point. No one wants a snack that's a hassle to eat. She thanks them for the feedback and heads back to implementation like a pro. Inspired by her grind, Masugu decides to redo his own report, wanting to match her energy in facing the daily struggle. After a long day, Shizuno invites the squad for drinks to reward their hard work. Masugu joins in, curious about what it's like since Yui is always out with her department. Suddenly, they run into the planning department at the same spot, Yui included. They're in the same room but seated at separate tables. Shizuno tries to wingman them, hoping some liquid courage will stop the constant fighting. But they keep their distance, sticking with their own teams. Masugu ends up talking to Kazuki, the new guy who's only drinking juice. When the new guy dips, the girls explain that Yui is the only reason he even joined the outing. She's always taking care of everyone with her bright and welcoming personality. Hearing everyone praise his girl gives Masugu a massive pride buff. But then he looks over and sees her table covered in empty glasses. Yui has been going way too hard on the beer. Suddenly, she heads for the washroom and crashes by the sink. Worried she's reached her limit, Masugu rushes to her side. He tries to help her back, but Yui is being stubborn, not wanting to worry her colleagues. He finds her defiance adorable and teases her while giving her a back rub to help her recover. Yui is scared of being caught, but he says it's normal for colleagues to help each other out. He apologizes, thinking his presence made her drink too much. But the alcohol has made Yui feisty, and she gets mad before enjoying the cooling touch of his hand. She eventually announces she's staying at his place tonight and passes out, forgetting they're still in a public lobby. Eventually, she declares she'll stay at his place for the night and drifts off to sleep, cold to the fact they are still in public. Just then, Kazuki exits the men's washroom, catching Masubu red-handed with Yui. Kazuki awkwardly explained that he'd been waiting for an opening to leave, but didn't want to interrupt until Yui fell asleep. Kazuki awkwardly asks if Masubu and Yui are dating, feeling there's no point in denying it. Masubu confirms their relationship. The next day, Masubu tells Yui that Kazuki knows their secret, causing her to panic. She eerily suggests locking Kazuki in the storage room and taking him out there to ensure he doesn't tell anyone, but Masubu calms her down, assuring her she's overthinking the situation. He tries to convince her that Kazuki isn't the type of NPC to go spreading rumors. Yui reluctantly agrees, but she's still worried that even a small leak could tank their career stats and ruin the reputations they've worked so hard to build. Moved by her concern, our MC gives her a wholesome hair ruffle and reassures her that as long as they act like normal colleagues, nobody will suspect a thing. Back in accounting, Masugu notices the vibe is totally normal. To his relief, his latest report even got that sweet, approved buff. He spots Kazuki by the vending machines and decides to have a quick one-on-one to secure the secret. Kazuki is actually confused why they're playing on hard mode, since the company doesn't even ban workplace romance. Masugu explains that it's all about maintaining that pro image, especially with how many people depend on Yui. Hearing the sincerity, Kazuki locks in and promises to keep the secret, saying he wants to protect Yui's status too. He admits seeing her different side was a shock, and Masugu can't help but brag that she's actually at her most charming like that. As our MC walks away, he starts thinking about the end game. The marriage route crosses his mind, and he smiles, hoping to stay by her side and watch her brilliance every day. It's another high-intensity day for the planning department. They've developed an new snack, but now they have to survive the boss fight of designing the perfect packaging. Yui goes full strategist, advocating for an eye-catching design that'll grab every customer's attention. But the department bosses, including Kazuki, are trying to nerf her creativity with a simpler, traditional approach. Just as she's about to argue her case, she remembers Kazuki knows about her secret relationship with the MC. So she decides to play it safe and stay on his good side, biting her tongue and agreeing to take the simpler feedback into account for now. After the daily grind, Yui heads home and preps dinner for Masugu. And she's absolutely overjoyed when he shows up with a box of elite donuts from that shop she's been wanting to try. She has him chill in her cozy living area while she plates the treats and brews some coffee, humming a cheerful tune like a true waifu. From the couch, Masugu notices her collection of Mr. Rabbit toys has totally grown. Reflecting on how much she adores this character, he remembers how much she loves this character, reflecting that her apartment, filled with things she adores, feels way more alive than his own minimalist NPC-style space. Yui returns with the donuts and coffee, her mood shifting to serious mode as she calculates which donut to tackle first. Watching her lock in, Masugu is reminded of her critical work persona, but once she picks the maple-flavored one, she reverts to the bubbly and charming Yui he loves in private. Sitting beside him, she takes a massive bite, and her eyes light up as that sweet maple flavor hits her senses, letting out a delighted sigh. Masugu is captivated by how vividly she wears her emotions over a simple dessert. Wondering if she's always been this obsessed with snacks, Yui admits she's always enjoyed them, but joining the food planning department has definitely deepened her appreciation for the craft. Surrounded by colleagues who love treats just as much as she does, so she flips the question 223. Back to him, and he realizes he doesn't even like snacks that much, he only bought them 225. Surprised, he realizes he doesn't even have a sweet tooth, because he knew seeing her happy would be a total win. Over time, he's mastered her tastes just to see her happy. He takes a bite of a chocolate donut and is shocked at how op it is, his face lighting up with pure delight. Yui notices his rare expression and leans in for a sneak attack kiss, grinning because he looks too adorable to resist. Suddenly getting shy after her bold move, Yui bolts from her seat to offer him more coffee. Our MC is stunned by the unexpected kiss, feeling his cheeks hit that blush status as he processes the moment. He can't help but smile, realizing that every new side of Yui he discovers just makes him fall deeper in love. As they finish the loot, Yui lets out a sigh and starts venting. She admits she's nervous whenever she has to interact with Kazuki during team meetings, so Masugu gives her a reassuring smile and tells her to stop overthinking, reminding her that Kazuki already promised to keep their secret on lock, and he even 236. Pats her head while remembering how Kazuki hinted at them getting married, which makes him blush. The next day, Yui is still a bundle of nerves during the meeting, and sitting across from Kazuki, she starts spiraling into wild assumptions about how much he actually knows. Her internal monologue is interrupted when a teammate mentions her raving about donuts lately, which makes her freeze 241. Her internal monologue is cut short when a teammate mentions she's been raving about Angel Donuts lately, specifically the adorable packaging. Realizing her off-duty self is leaking into the office, so she panics 243. Trying to save face, she quickly claims a friend brought them for her, and claims a female acquaintance brought them, which only makes things 245. She realizes Kazuki might connect the dots and figure out the friend is actually Masugu. In a frantic attempt to cover her tracks, she adds that it's more of a female acquaintance, but her darting eyes are basically a spoiler alert for her nervousness. More obvious to Kazuki, especially when the team suggests asking accounting for donut funds. Kazuki notices her acting weird, but he's still putting the pieces together. Her jumpiness hits a new level when the team suggests asking accounting for funds so they can try the donuts too. Kazuki, initially confused, finally manages to piece the puzzle together. It dawns on him that the friend is definitely Masubu, and her frantic lying is just making it more obvious. He suppresses a sigh, realizing that keeping this ship a secret might be a legendary difficulty task. To make it worse, it's clear Yui doesn't even trust him to keep his mouth shut. While they're lost in thought, two teammates get summoned to a boss-level meeting with the section chief. Before dipping, they dump two massive stacks of paperwork on Yui and Kazuki for some unplanned filing. The room hits an awkward silence as they start working side by side. Yui, desperate to ease the tension, tries some small talk, but her voice trails off when Kazuki only gives her a cold, polite NPC-style response. Feeling the weight of the vibe, Kazuki asks if she actually finds him unreliable. Yui realizes her behavior made him think she doesn't trust his loyalty. Determined to clear the air, she slaps her cheeks to hype herself up, her classic move. The action grabs his attention, and she seizes the moment to apologize. She explains that the secret relationship is just new to her, but her face 262 betrays her with a giddy expression, leading Kazuki to warn her 265. Kazuki notices and finally relaxes, teasing her that her face doesn't look sorry at all. The mood lightens, and Yui apologizes for acting so unsenior-like. Kazuki warns her that if she keeps wearing her emotions like an open book, people will figure it out without him saying a word. That she needs to hide her emotions better before someone else catches on. Meanwhile, in the accounting department, Masubu is sent to the warehouse archives. Over in accounting, Masubu gets tasked with a warehouse archive run to retrieve some documents. He finds it fast, glad that the recent cleanup made the section way easier to navigate. As he's leaving, a loud crash from nearby grabs his attention. Worried something went wrong, he rushes over to find Yui on the floor after a platforming fail. Their eyes meet, and they instinctively call out in excitement. Realizing they're at work though, they instantly revert to using formal last names. Yuma explains that some items fell and startled her, causing her to lose balance. Masubu scans the room and immediately notices the planning department's archives are a total mess compared to his neat accounting section. He silently wonders how they ever managed to find any loot in this chaos. Admitting the problem, Yui says management already told her team to clear the stage. She starts gathering the scattered items, muttering about finding a temporary spot to store them. Noticing her struggle, our MC starts helping her clear the debris. Still cautious about being seen together, she protests, telling him he doesn't need to help. Masubu ignores her, quipping that her department clearly isn't organized enough to solo this. Despite the risk of being caught in 4K, he's happy for these little moments that let him see her. While sorting the mess, he finds an old flag and asks her where it goes. Yui lights up. She recognizes it as the exact flag from her first pre-sale event when she first joined the company. For a split second, her guard drops, revealing the real Yui he knows outside of work. But just as fast, she snaps back to Ice Queen mode and tells him where to put it. She starts organizing, repeatedly reminding herself to stay in work mode so she won't get caught being intimate. Masubu obeys, though he wonders if the stay distant rule still applies when they're totally alone. As they tidy up, Yui reaches for a high-level shelf. Masubu offers to handle it, but she insists on doing it herself. She asks him to hold the ladder steady while she climbs. He agrees, holding it firmly as she organizes the loot. From his spot, he notices her skirt and is relieved he's the one helping and not some random NPC. He tells her she should probably come down and let him handle it. When she refuses, he points out that she's actually wearing a skirt today. Yui freezes in shock as the realization hits, and the sudden movement makes the ladder wobble. She loses her balance and topples over, but Masubu catches her just in time. They're inches away from a kiss when her team bursts in to help, forcing them to 301. Just as they're about to lock in a kiss, the planning squad bursts in to help her clean. Squeeze into a tight hiding spot where Masubu struggles 302. Not to touch her until they eventually leave, breathing a sigh of relief 306. Yui senses his struggle and whispers for him to just relax and touch her if he needs to. Masubu complies, knowing that if he falls, their secret is officially game over. They stay perfectly still until the planning NPCs finally leave the area, and agreeing to keep their professional distance. A few days later, they all head to a baseball game with the office crew. And as their team scores, Masubu gets so hyped he grabs Yui's hand, praying no 1-310. During the game, he's enthusiastically explaining the rules to a confused Yui, and when they score, he accidentally grabs her hand. Noticed the PDA while everyone else was focused on the game. Later, the two of them head out to grab snacks for the squad. And in the bustling crowd, Masubu suggests holding hands, reasoning it's less suspicious in the chaos, which is a total pro-gamer move. Yui agrees, finally enjoying the moment despite her initial hesitation. But as they return to the stadium, the team hits a home run. Masubu, overwhelmed with joy, hugs Yui while completely forgetting their surroundings, only for Shizuno to suddenly join the hug, caught up in her own excitement about the game, which is a massive save for their secret. Relieved that Shizuno suspects nothing, they return to their seats where Yui whispers that next time they should attend a game alone, just so they can vibe without any worry. The next day, Yui and her friends head to a convenience store for lunch, but while everyone is picking meals, Yui's focus is on the shelves, discreetly checking for her newly developed snack product, only for her heart to sink when she realizes barely anyone has touched it. The lack of interest in her work weighs heavily on her spirit. But meanwhile, Shizuno starts her morning early as usual. She exits the train and begins her walk when she bumps into a male colleague, who greets her with a compliment on her dedication, which is nice and all, but she modestly returns the praise before heading off to a small cafe nearby, relieved to finally have a quiet moment to herself. She settles into a booth and flips through the menu, contemplating her order, which is when things take an unexpected turn because Kazuki walks into the cafe. The waitress assumes they're together and seats him right in the same booth as Shizuno, forcing her to give up her solitude with a polite smile. An awkward standoff ensues as they both try to order at the same time, and their exaggerated politeness only heightens the tension in the air. Meanwhile, Yui is on her way to work, anxiously scrolling through her phone, searching for any buzz about her snack, but to her dismay, there's still no chatter. Suddenly, she bumps into Masubu and they exchange polite greetings, instantly slipping back into their professional roles. But as they walk together, Masubu notices she's looking a little nerved. Concerned, he asks if something is bothering her, but Yui just brushes it off, blaming her mood on overtime, even though she's clearly hurting inside. Sensing she's hiding something, Masubu shifts the talk to her new product. And while Yui nods along, her subdued tone betrays her true feelings. Back at the cafe, Shizuno and Kazuki realize they ordered the exact same meal, making things even more awkward as Shizuno tries to make small talk. She tells Kazuki he doesn't need to wait for her, but he just interrupts her gently, pointing out that her food is getting cold and reassuring her that he actually prefers quiet mornings alone. Shizuno feels a wave of relief at their shared appreciation for solitude, so she focuses on her work while Kazuki pulls out a book, setting a surprisingly comfortable routine. As she types away, she sneaks a glance at him, admiring his quiet confidence, appreciating a moment where she doesn't feel the need to fill the silence with chatter. But as Kazuki prepares to leave, he surprises her by saying he enjoyed their breakfast and that his opinion of her has shifted. Shizuno freezes, realizing he's referring to a certain embarrassing incident from the game. And suddenly she's worried about how he perceives her, but he's already out the door. She sighs and resolves to focus on her work, while back at the office, Yui is anxiously refreshing pages to track her product's performance. Despite using Maria's online influence to promote the snack, there's still no buzz, and her frustration peaks when she hears another department celebrating a successful launch. Jealous and disheartened, she starts drafting an email explaining that her product needs more time, only to be startled by Kazuki, who hands her a stack of new data tasks. As Yui works through the data, her irritation mounts because she feels completely overlooked. When a teammate offers her some chocolates to try, Yui finally snaps and raises her voice. The entire office goes silent, shocked by her uncharacteristic outburst, leaving Yui to instantly regret her behavior. That evening, she heads straight to Masugu's place seeking solace, and he's visibly surprised to see her looking so completely drained. He quickly sets about preparing food and drinks, watching her closely with deep concern. And as soon as he hands her a beer, Yui dives into a full-on rant about the workload and the lack of product buzz. Her frustration spills over as she complains about her coworkers ignoring her launch while hyping up another effortless product. Yui's voice grows louder as she describes her snack gathering dust on the shelves, making her feel as though all her hard work had amounted to nothing. Finally, her words falter and tears begin to pool in her eyes as she finishes her rant. But Masubu gently reassures her that it's normal to feel upset after investing so much. He reminds her that the whole company cares about her success, even mentioning the struggle to secure her budget as proof that the team was rooting for her. He advises her to be more honest with her section chief if she feels undervalued. So the next day, Yui heads to a convenience store to pick up apology snacks for her team. While browsing, she overhears two students debating whether to buy her snack, and her heart pounds as she watches them ultimately add it to their basket. Overwhelmed with joy, she finally feels validated and walks into work with renewed energy. During lunch, her friends join her to chat about the busy planning department, but Yui's ears perk up at the sound of Masubu's name from the next table. She discreetly eavesdrops and hears the girls complimenting her boyfriend's reliability and tall stature. But as the talk continues, she worries their admiration might border on infatuation. Her chest tightens with worry that Masubu might be too popular for comfort, and compared to those girls, she suddenly feels plain and insecure in her casual attire. She begins to notice how little effort she's put into her appearance lately. So the next evening, Masubu immediately senses something unusual when he sees her. Yui is dressed far more elegantly than her typical style, which makes him uneasy. But as she hints at being in the mood, Masubu completely misinterprets her intentions and just lowers the AC. Yui tries again to spark a reaction, but Masubu just grows more concerned, urging her to be honest until she finally confesses that the girls at the cafeteria made her feel inadequate. He assures her she has nothing to worry about because she's the only one he loves, even admitting that he's the one who's usually worried about her popularity among male colleagues. His words trigger something in Yui, so she tackles him with a kiss that startles him with its boldness. And although he asks to take things slow, Yui is determined to serve him for the evening. She quickly gets flustered and nervous, but Masubu just carries her to the bed, expressing how happy he is to share such intimate moments, relishing in a bond that is truly special. Overwhelmed with joy, Yui smiles to herself, finally feeling like she's validated. Later, she walks into work with her energy bar fully refilled. At lunch, she's feeling a bit drained from a morning full of meetings. Her two friends join her, venting about the planning department's mountain of data entry. They all agree the workload is manageable as long as they have a top-tier meal to look forward to. As she takes a bite, her ears perk up when she hears Masubu's name from the next table. Pretending not to care, she eavesdrops as the girls start simping for her boyfriend. They're praising his reliability and tall stature. Clearly, they're impressed. But as the talk continues, she realizes their admiration is bordering on infatuation. Her chest tightens. She's worried Masubu's good traits are making him too popular for comfort. Her friends notice and nod along, admitting that Masubu is indeed a high-tier guy. This only makes Yui more self-conscious as she looks at the girls simping for him. Compared to them, she feels like a plain NPC in her casual gear and minimal makeup. She starts realizing she's been putting zero effort into her looks lately, even with him. Insecurity starts rising. Is she doing enough to keep his interest? The next evening, Machu immediately senses something is up. Yui is in his room, dressed way more elegantly than her typical relaxed style. Her serious vibe makes him uneasy, thinking something went wrong at the office again. Before he can ask, she remarks that it's getting warm in here. She's clearly trying to set a romantic mood and initiate some intimacy. But Masubu, being a typical dense MC, just turns down the AC because he thinks she's uncomfortable. Yui, determined to get her point across, tries again. She drops hints that she's in the mood, hoping for a reaction, but Masubu just gets more worried that she's acting weird. Taking her hands, he reassures her that she can always be honest with him and speak her mind. Finally, Yui confesses the reason behind her actions. She admits she heard the cafeteria NPCs simping for Masubu, which made her feel like a total background character. Her insecurities were peaking, and she just wanted to max out her appeal to keep his eyes on her. He tells her she's overthinking it. She's the only one in his party, and nobody else even comes close. Masubu admits he actually worries about her popularity among the office chads too. He tells her she doesn't need to force a sexy persona to keep him interested. Those words trigger something in Yui, so she yeets her top and tackles him with a kiss, catching him totally off guard. Despite the shock, our MC tries to suggest taking it slow since he hasn't even hit the shower yet. Yui nopes that idea, declaring she's going to be the one serving him tonight. But after a few seconds, she gets hit with the shyness debuff and realizes she might have been a bit too bold. Masubu, absolutely loving this side of her, carries her to the bed and pins her down gently. He tells her how hyped he is to share these private moments, knowing their bond is truly one of a kind. The next morning, Yui is stuck in a loop, replaying the events of their spicy night. She nearly misses her stop, looking so fatigued that Chiharu asks if she's okay, but Yui just tanks the hit with a vague excuse about her busy schedule. She brushes it off with a vague excuse about the busy work grind. Later, the cafeteria simps join them in the elevator. Yui eavesdrops as they start praising Masubu again, their admiration still at an all-time high. Instead of getting tilted, Yui feels a surge of pride, knowing the guy they're obsessed with is actually hers. Then the legend himself, Masubu, steps into the elevator. He spots Yui but plays it cool, positioning himself right next to the simping girls. The girls see an opening and start fishing for intel on what he does during his weekends. Masubu decides to end their career, casually mentioning he spends all his free time with his girlfriend. Once they leave, Chiharu rushes to Yui to spill the tea that Masubu is officially off the market. Yui plays it perfectly indifferent, saying it makes sense since he's such a top-tier guy. It's a rare chill day at work, and the whole office has basically entered vacation mode. The air is filled with summer plans as everyone brags about their upcoming holiday trips. Maria says she's hitting up Nagoya for the break. Shizuna, however, is going to grind through the break because she hates dealing with crowded tourist spots. The two of them turn to Masubu, curious to see where our MC is heading. Masubu flashes back to a month ago when he and Yui had a heated debate about where to go for their summer arc. Unable to agree, they moved the discussion to Yui's apartment to finalize the plan. They were surrounded by travel pamphlets, looking for the perfect destination. Masubu immediately vetoed Okinawa, pointing out that typhoon season would be a total run killer. Yui was pushing hard for it, but Masubu wasn't buying it, especially with the insane itinerary she prepared. He told her the schedule was way too sweaty, and they'd never fit all those activities into one trip. Masubu wanted a more casual, laid-back experience for their first outing. His ideal quest was Hokkaido for the onsens, scenic drives, and some high-tier grill restaurants. But Yui found that idea super mid, wanting something way more memorable and thrilling. Tired of the bickering, Masubu just told her they could go wherever she wanted, just to end the dialogue tree. Mistake, his tone made it sound like he was totally checked out of the relationship. Yui felt dismissed and declared they should just cancel the whole summer trip if they couldn't vibe together. Realizing he messed up, he grabs her hands and tells her the location doesn't matter as long as she's in the party. He then admits his real goal was to experience a private bath together on their first big trip. The confession catches Yui off guard, and her anger instantly transforms into total embarrassment. To flip the script, she teasingly invites him into the tub right then and there, knowing exactly what he wants. Squeezed into her tiny apartment bathtub, Yui is loving the closeness, but Masubu is struggling. He's feeling cramped and knows a spacious hotel bath would be a much better experience. Yui suggests a new hotel in Yamanashi, hinting that it might be the perfect compromise for their vacation. Back in the present, Masubu tells his colleagues he's visiting Yamanashi, which is actually his hometown. As the day ends, Yui is speedrunning her tasks, hyped to go home and pack for the big trip. Right as she's leaving, she gets a check-in text from her favorite accountant, Masubu. She's about to reply when total chaos erupts in the planning department office. An emergency quest has spawned, and the entire team is in full panic mode. Itsuro tells Yui and Yukiko they're stuck with overtime until the issue is resolved. Just like that, her dreams of an early exit and trip prep vanish into thin air. Meanwhile, Masubu is getting worried as the hours pass with zero comms from Yui. She'd left her phone in her bag to lock in, focusing 100% on making sure the products hit the launch site. Itsura is feeling the pressure as the deadline looms closer. He drops the bomb that they'll likely have to work through the night to finish the grind. Yui's heart sinks as she realizes her summer vacation might be a total bust. She knows Masubu would understand, but the disappointment is hitting her hard. But she grits her teeth and pushes forward, determined to clear the workload as fast as possible. Luckily, the on-site team spawns in unexpectedly to give them a much-needed assist. With the extra party members, they clear the task and finish everything just in time. Yui manages to catch the last train home, feeling exhausted but victorious. The launch is a go, and against all odds, her summer plans are still alive. Walking back to her apartment, she suddenly feels a hand on her arm. It's Masubu. He looks worried sick after her long radio silence. He'd been waiting for her, losing his mind after getting no replies to his messages. Seeing her tired face, his anxiety turns into pure relief. He cups her face, giving her a tender reminder that the trip is definitely still happening. Yui leans into his touch, feeling the stress of the night melt away instantly. She smiles at him, knowing that the real summer adventure starts now. The next morning, Shizuna is vibing at her favorite cafe, enjoying a slow-paced drink. Kazuki shows up soon after and takes the seat right in front of her. He mentions he's skipping the summer crowds for an autumn break, and she realizes they're cut from the same cloth. They share a quiet breakfast, appreciating the silent understanding between them. Meanwhile, Masubu and Yui finally embark on their legendary vacation. First stop, a dessert shop for a raindrop cake that only spawns on the weekends. Yui dives in, her eyes lighting up at the top-tier jiggly texture. The refreshing taste and smooth vibes bring a massive grin to her face. Masubu watches her, feeling pure happiness just being on this journey with her. Even though it's his hometown, everything feels like a new DLC because he's with Yui. Yui spots some soybean powder on his face and dabs it off, but a local kid catches them in the act. Yui doesn't care, confidently linking arms and saying it's normal for a power couple to act like this. But then, a wild local TV reporter appears and asks for an interview. The reporter is hyped to get them on camera, but Yui's bravery suddenly hits zero. The idea of going viral with their relationship is way too much for her to handle. When the reporter persists, Yui hits the sprint button and dashes away. Masubu teases her about the panic as they move to the next location. He tells her it was just a small local network, so no one at work would have seen her anyway. Yui is embarrassed, but her mood does a 180 when they see a field of sunflowers stretching forever. She runs ahead, taking photos like a pro to capture the legendary golden scenery. Masubu follows slowly, but he's actually looking at a different masterpiece. He's completely captivated by her, thinking nothing in the world could beat this moment. Overcome with love, he rushes up and steals a quick kiss, catching her totally off guard. As the day ends, they check into their hotel with the private hot spring. Yui knows instantly that the price was worth it just to unwind in luxury. She's already planning tomorrow's sightseeing, hoping her energy bar stays full. While they're chilling, Masubu suddenly gets uncharacteristically shy. He hands her a beer and brings up a memory from years ago during their company training camp. He reminds her of the night everyone else was wasted, leaving them to clean up the mess. He confesses that was the exact moment he fell helplessly in love with her. Yui is stunned by the raw honesty in his voice. The adoration in his eyes makes her heart race, and she scoots closer for a deep kiss. The next morning, Yui doesn't want to leave the bed, demanding all of Masubu's attention. He happily gives in, relishing their first vacation together as a couple. They only finally get up when room service arrives with their breakfast. Masubu takes her around the countryside, hitting all the S-tier food spots and sites. Yui goes on a snack-buying spree, struggling to decide what to keep and what to gift. Her eyes land on a grape stand, and Masubu suddenly stiffens up. He's wondering if it's one of his family's stands since they're in the grape business. She buys some anyway, and her eyes widen when she tastes the crazy sweetness. Masubu proudly tells her that his family's grapes are actually even better than these. Yui realizes she wants to visit again, not just for the views, but to meet his family for real. The final morning, they wake up refreshed and tangled together in the sheets. They contemplate having one last intimate moment before hitting the breakfast buffet. Masubu leans in to show her some love, but Yui has other plans. She'd rather have one last relaxing soak in the hot spring before they head home. Soaking in the heat, Yui savors every second, wishing the vacation could last forever. Masubu proudly claims that the grapes grown by his family are even better. Yui hums and thought as she takes in the peaceful scenery before her. She suddenly finds herself wanting to visit this town again, not just for the sights and food, but to meet Masugu's family and taste their famous grapes firsthand. The next morning, Masubu and Yui wake up feeling refreshed, their bodies still tangled together beneath the sheets. With a few hours left before breakfast, they contemplate whether they have time for another intimate moment. Masubu, eager to show Yui how much he loves her again, leans in to kiss her, rolling on top of her. However, Yui declares that she would much rather enjoy in another relaxing soak in the private hot spring before breakfast, since they will be making the trip back that day. Finally soaking in their last bath in their hotel, Yui closes her eyes, savoring the moment, wishing your vacation could last a little longer. But even though she's enjoying the getaway, she admits the trip has fully recharged her batteries, and she's ready to go full rage mode on her work once they return home. Masugu smiles at her words, appreciating that his girl is a high-tier grinder, which is when she turns to him with expectant eyes, forcing him to admit he's planning to take a brutal certification exam to speedrun his way up the corporate ranks. If he passes, his professional level will skyrocket, and suddenly 551. Yui's eyes light up with a competitive spark, suggesting they both set massive goals for the next year. It's a high-stakes wager, where the loser has to pay for their next legendary trip to Yamanishi. And even though Masugu knows the exam is basically a Dark Souls boss, he agrees to the bet just to see her smile. Once they return to the office, everyone notices Masugu's slight tan, but they don't press for details, which is lucky because Maria returns from her own Nagoya vacation with a bag of snacks. To his surprise, Maria reveals she has treats for Yui too, showing an unexpected bond, but then Masugu's 558. Junior Maria returns from her Nagoya side quest and starts sharing some S-tier snacks she farmed. To Masubu's shock, Maria reveals she's got some treats for Yui too, showing their friendship stats are surprisingly high. Eyes widen in horror as he realizes Yui will definitely return the favor with Yamanishi souvenirs, potentially leaking their shared location. His fears are confirmed when Maria walks back in with her hands full of snacks from his hometown, telling him how enthusiastically Yui talked about the trip, which sends a massive blush 561 creeping onto his face as he feels a wave of pride knowing she had the time of her life. He silently vows to keep making her happy, and a few weeks later, we find them both deep in a study grind at home, perfectly synchronized while they chase their ambitious goals. One evening, our power couple is at the table, both grinding through their respective skill trees. They've both set high-level goals for the year and are determined to clear the main quest. Masugu is busy farming XP for his certification exam, flipping through notes and highlighting the meta. Meanwhile, Yui is meticulously min-maxing her data to fine-tune her proposal for an upcoming presentation boss fight. The next morning, Yui confidently presents her new ideas to the section chief, and to her relief, she gets some solid positive feedback, but just as she's 575. The next morning, Yui confidently presents her new project ideas to the section chief. Her anxiety bar is high, but she's hopeful. To her relief, the feedback is actually positive, no game over screens here. There's still some patching to do, but she's proud of the progress she's making toward the end goal. She locks in, determined to keep leveling up because she's finally on the right path. Leaving, she overhears colleagues praising a newer staff member's top-performing product. A quick wave of self-doubt hits her like a debuff. She feels discouraged, but she reminds herself that even a small XP gain is still a step toward the level cap. Yui and Itsura head toward a meeting room to face the new business development department. Yui is hyped for the chance to push her project to the next stage of development. Itsura, however, is not vibing, groaning because he can't stand the department rep Hiromi. Hiromi used to be a legendary star in sales, known for his sharp instincts and zero-chill approach. As soon as the meeting begins, Hiromi wastes no time getting down to business. He takes one look at their data and calls it a mess, saying it's way too complicated. With a stone-cold voice, he lists all the ways they need to buff their system and simplify the process. Yui is watching with total fascination, taking notes on the pro strats. It's her first time working with this Chad, and his efficiency stats are off the charts. Itsura doesn't back down though, trying to defend his department's honor. He attempts to counter the suggestions, arguing that their process exists for a reason and has a 0% error rate. But Hiromi is unrelenting, pointing out all the lag in their system and calling some steps totally unnecessary. The tension rises until Itsura ducks out for a call, leaving Yui in a 1v1 with Hiromi. What happens next is a total plot twist that catches Yui completely off guard. Hiromi looks her dead in the eye and offers her a spot in his new business development squad. He explains they're in dire need of fresh talent and he's been scouting her for a while. Even though her last project was small scale, it was enough for him to notice her potential. He tells her that in the crowded planning department, it'll take years for her contributions to truly shine. But in his department, she can make an immediate impact and get the recognition she deserves right away. Yui is stuck in a stunned silence, her brain currently buffering. She had no idea this Chad even knew her project existed, let alone that he thought her skills were so high. The weight of the offer hits her, and she realizes this is a total game changer. It's an opportunity that could literally change the course of her entire character arc. The idea of switching departments is overwhelming, and she isn't sure how she feels about it yet. Unable to choose a path right now, she decides to take a detour after her shift. That evening, she meets up with Masubu at a department store where the new business squad's products are being sold. Masubu is shocked by how many people are farming the aisles, even on a random weeknight. He tries one of the products and finds himself genuinely impressed by the quality. He has to admit that catching the attention of that department is a massive achievement for our MC. Yui, however, is feeling the conflicted debuff as she takes a bite of the product herself. It's undeniably delicious and well packaged, a level of polish way beyond her current projects. As they exit with a box of company chocolates, doubts start flooding her mind. The transfer is tempting, offering new challenges, but she's worried about abandoning her current squad. Her original goal of making a name for herself in planning still matters, and leaving feels like a betrayal of her teammates. Unfinished side quests and the potential for office gossip are weighing heavy on her heart. She also realizes that if she transfers, the legendary bet she made with Masubu about launching in planning will be void. The mountain of concerns is making her brain start to overheat. Before she can spiral out, Masubu pinches her cheeks to snap her back to reality. The sudden gesture catches her off guard, breaking her focus on the stress. He tells her to stop fretting about what others think and just focus on what she actually wants. He gives her a reassuring head pat and signals that it's time to get moving again. Discussion has to wait because missing the last train home is definitely a fail state. The quiet walk to the station does nothing to clear the troubled status from her mind. The next morning, she puts on her usual high-energy mask for her presentation. She stays focused, but her mind keeps drifting back to her uncertain future. Her teammates notice her vibes are off and start getting worried. But Yui brushes it off, not ready to voice the internal turmoil she's going through. As the day progresses, the weight of her responsibilities in the planning department becomes more evident. The workload is demanding, and even though she wants to focus on her proposal, there's too much basic maintenance to do. She realizes that transferring might actually be the key to gaining the freedom she needs for her passion projects. The next morning, an unexpected email from Hiromi spawns in her inbox. He sent a massive archive of data and analysis related to her project. But before she can process it, a phone call interrupts her flow. A wave of panic hits as she realizes she totally forgot to finish a task from yesterday. That one oversight just caused a lag in one of the company's ongoing projects. She gets summoned to the boss's office. After 6 years, making a rookie mistake like this is humiliating. Walking out, she's met by the encouraging faces of her squad. Their support helps, but the doubt is still gnawing at her. She's worried her recent indecisiveness is causing her to misclick and affect the whole team's efficiency. The thought is weighing her down, making it impossible to focus on anything else. That evening, she makes a surprise visit to Masubu's base, looking for comfort. Overwhelmed by her mistakes, she begs him to help her forget the awful day. But even after seeking solace in his embrace, her worries won't fade away. She's scared that no matter where she goes, she'll just carry the same lag and struggles into a new department. Masubu senses her turmoil and gives her a playful head rub. He tells her that if she's reflecting on her actions, then she's already on the right path to leveling up. After she calms down, Masubu walks Yui to the station, even though he offered to let her stay for the night. She decides against it, knowing she has responsibilities to handle before the next morning. She apologizes for being a burden, but Masubu just smiles and reminds her he's always there to let her vent. The next morning, she has an accidental encounter with Hiromi. Without skipping a beat, he asks if she's made up her mind about joining the new business squad. He invites her to a seminar, hoping it'll give her the push she needs to lock in her decision. Before she can answer, he spots the proposal she's holding and asks about it. Yui admits she missed the submission deadline and was ready to just delete the project. Hiromi, however, totally disagrees with that logic. He insists that good ideas are high-tier loot for the company, and she needs to submit it regardless. Still hesitant, Yui is not quite convinced yet. Seeing her hold back, Hiromi decides to go for the direct approach. He calls her a coward. The remark stings, but it gives her the motivation she needs. Determined to prove him wrong, she gathers her courage and marches straight to her section chief's office. As expected, the boss is skeptical. He knows she hasn't finished his requested patches, and taking on a new project seems impractical. But for the first time, Yui stands her ground against the boss. She insists she can fix the proposal as she goes, and that she's fully capable of leading this new mission. She takes a deep breath and finally says what she's been too scared to voice. She'd rather dedicate herself to this proposal than keep grind through her existing chores. The section chief studies her for a moment, which is a tense standoff because he finally acknowledges that while Yui has been a reliable carry for the team, he's been nerfing her potential by overstacking her workload. Until now, he assumed she was satisfied playing an NPC role, but seeing her ambition, he agrees to buff her project and even offers to rebalance her daily tasks so she can truly shine. With her eyes shining from a massive victory, Yui walks back to her desk just as Chiharu runs up to congratulate her on the level up, leaving Yui to take a deep breath at her desk, realizing that for the first time in ages, she has successfully stood up for herself. As the realization sinks in, she suspects that Hiromi might have orchestrated this entire encounter to force her out of her comfort zone. His coward remark was a calculated move to break her guard, and that evening, she rewards herself with a slice of top-tier cake from the new department, savoring the flavor while licking the frosting from her fingers with a renewed sense of determination. So the next day, she visits Hiromi to apologize for being such a dismissal noob, acknowledging that he was just trying to help her evolve, though she formally declines the transfer quest to focus on her current department. However, she surprises him by requesting to join his seminar because she wants to absorb his strategies and fix the flaws in her own game, freely admitting that his structured methodology is absolutely op, and she hopes to incorporate those principles into her own projects. Hiromi, taken aback by her honesty, raises an eyebrow, clearly amused by her grit, though he makes it clear that there are no free carry sessions here. If she plans to farm knowledge from his department, then he'll be making full use of her team's resources in return. By the end of an exhausting week, Yui and Masubu finally hit the spa to recover their HP. The warmth seeps into their tired muscles, and Masubu feels a massive sense of contentment watching Yui finally deactivate her work mode armor. Her serious mindset is replaced by a playful and affectionate demeanor, and as she